hundreds died horrifically in clouds of white. Horses and men were torn to shreds under the constant pelting of machine guns. Men and fortresses were annihilated by bombs and gunfire coming from above. The weapons and strategies developed during World War I dramatically changed warfare forever. "16 years before World War I, the United States fought in the Spanish-American War. The weapons and strategies used to win that war were highly effective in helping the country secure a victory in the span of only 4 months. Little did they know that some of those significant victories from their past would cause the needless death of millions due to their military and civilian leadership's unwillingness to change old tactics to fight new techniques and weaponry of World War I. For centuries, cavalry was one of the most powerful ways to overwhelm an enemy. During the Spanish-American War, there was no one more effective than the Rough Riders led by Lieutenant Colonel Theodore Roosevelt in the Battle of San Juan Hill. On July 1st, 1898, he led America's first volunteer cavalry group to the top of Kettle Hill while under significant gunfire. This use of cavalry was pivotal in taking not only the hill, but the entire city of Santiago. World War I was a completely different story when it came to the use of cavalry. At the Battle of the Somme on July 14, 1916, 102 men and 130 horses lost their lives in a single charge against a German stronghold equipped with machine guns. It was just 2 months later the Allied leadership chose to utilize tanks and were able to overcome that same German stronghold very efficiently and effectively with significantly less loss of life. World War I was the first time chemical warfare was introduced to the world. In the Spanish-American War, during that same Battle of San Juan Hill, the United States met their greatest opposition in the trench fighters the Spanish had dispersed at the crest of Kettle Hill. World War I was known for the infamous trench fighting that took place between the Allies and the Germans. However, on April 22, 1915, those same trenches became a death trap. The Germans launched canisters with over 150 tons of lethal chlorine gas on the soldiers at the First Battle of Ypres. This one attack resulted in over 5,000 deaths and introduced a level of horrific suffering that no civilian or soldier had experienced up until that point. Finally, World War I was the birth of air combat. And there was nothing more effective in the air than the Zeppelins that were used by the Germans. For over 400 years, the Royal Navy was extremely powerful and had protected their shores from their enemies. However, they were powerless against these giants in the sky that Germany launched against them. There were 51 Zeppelin air raids that took place in World War I. 5,806 bombs were dropped, causing over 550 deaths and over 1,300 injuries. The most effective part of these massive blimps, however, was the terror that they evoked in the minds of soldiers and civilians alike. These mammoths were over 794,000 cubic feet and could carry up to 20,000 pounds of explosives. When it comes to World War I, Woodrow Wilson said it best.
The hearts of men have never beaten so singularly in unison before. Men have never been so conscious of their brotherhood.
Though it took years, cost a lot of lives, introduced new levels of pain and suffering, and demanded a lot of strategic collaboration and creative experimentation amongst the Allied forces, finally, the Allies were able to adjust and develop better weapons and techniques to defend and eventually overcome the German forces. However, one thing that is indisputable about this war is that strategies and weapons developed during World War I changed the landscape of warfare forever.